again, my friends, once more. Welcome to the Cellar of Dreams, and yeah. This is Leopard Street, my double O gauge model railway. I'll put the turntable in. This wouldn't be Leopard Street if it went entirely smoothly, but it's here. And it works. Stick around, we'll have a look. And we'll find out what went wrong. Yeah. This is Leopard Street. This is Sunday morning. Yeah, not too early Sunday morning, but there we go. I was down here yesterday, did a bit of work, hence the various bits of clutter. Didn't film it because, to be honest, it's nothing particularly impressive. So what I'm going to do, I'll have a look at what we've done and what's coming up. So first off, this little bit of track is now in. This is glued down. I've cut it short because it wasn't long enough to reach the turntable. So there's going to have to be a join in it somewhere. And I thought I'll put the join here. This needs to be soldered and then cut. That's a job for later. The idea is train trundles down here, triggers that. That can be its own block. That can integrate with the mimic stuff I've been playing with. And so because this little bit here, as with that bit, is going to have its polarity controlled. It'd basically be an extension of the slip frog. So if this is set in the wrong direction, that'll cause a short circuit if a train runs over it. I've got this little block. This goes active. Tells me I need to stop. Done. Down here, this is the same. This stub is part of that point. This section, which hasn't been fixed down, that's another job for today. Likewise, this bit will be its own block. That's fine. Other work. The turntable, shift some of this out of the way, is now in, and this is actually glued in now. What I've also done, which again I didn't bother filming because, to be honest, it's quite tedious. We have the track bed in here for the siding. Yeah, I thought I had 3mm cork strip. I've actually only got 2mm, so I've had to stack it to get it to be the right height for the turntable. Yeah, I can live with that. That's long enough to hold a loco. It's about the length of a loco, so yeah, that's easy. I did think about putting 2 in. I could put another one here, but it would have to be a shorter one. The thing is, if I've got a loco sitting here, I can't have another road coming off here. It's got to be off that way slightly. So there isn't really space for a full size one, so I'm not going to bother. Likewise, this one's in. I ran out of time yesterday, otherwise I would have done that. That's going to be the first job for today, is to get this done. There is a little bit of a plan, which is this track bed goes in before lunch. I'm going to then have some lunch while that glue dries. I'm then going to come down and paint all of this in the grey. While that paint dries, I can do that bit of track and get them soldered in. And then later on, after it's all dried, I can come in, and the idea then is do the track to the turntable. Now, this is in. Its motor is connected. We have some switches. They're very simple. Turns it one way, turns it the other. That's it. There is a problem. Leopard Street wouldn't be Leopard Street without there being a problem. This does work. I've had it tested. It's annoyed the hell out of both cats. When this is turning, it's fine. It squeaks a bit in a few places. One of the wheels drags, but it turns. Okay, fine, not a problem. Line it up that way. Ooh, lovely squeaky sound. Line it up that way. Line it up down here. Job done. No issues. When it stops, it squeals. And what it is, it's the coils on the motor resonating. Well, I thought there's not really a problem with that. I'll get it into position. I'll just turn the motor off. And that works. Turn it into position, Motor turns off, silence. You then turn it back on, it goes ka-dung, like that before it moves. That is a problem. Firstly, it looks horrible. Secondly, if there's a loco on the turntable deck, drive something on, it goes ka-dung, it'll derail it. You're spinning. And that is down to this thing. This is this DRV8825 driver chip. So I've got a different type on order. So I'll be the third attempt at this, which apparently has got a current limiting system so that when the table is stationary, it drops the motor current, which should stop the squeal. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get this bit done. You've seen me lay cork before, so I don't need to video that. We'll have a little look when it's back, and then I'm going to leave it to dry. So I'll be back with you in a sec. Yeah, so here we are just before I break for lunch. This track is now in. PCB sleepers are there. Again, not soldered. That'll be a job for after lunch. I'm letting the glue cure. Glue curing on this as well. These are going to be feeds 4 and 5. This section is not stuck in yet because I've got to paint over here. Again, waiting for glue to cure so I can paint that. But I've got one track running up to the table. Now, obviously it's not glued down yet, so the alignment's there. I've not got the little plastic bit that Peco give you for the entry tracks. But grabbing a victim, in this case a coal wagon, rolls on and off quite nicely, and I can even manually make it squeak and bring it off the other way around. So that is where one of the tracks is going to go, and that's obviously the exit road. Bed for the entry road is in. I'm waiting for that to cure a bit more before I make this piece, which I do have. I have the bit of track here. And then I have another piece, which unfortunately isn't quite long enough. I did make one slight cock up when I cut this. Basically, when I cut that, it should have been slightly longer. That's this piece, which would then have been slightly shorter, but it's over length. Then when I cut that piece, this bit would have been slightly longer, and it would have gone there. As it is, what's going to happen is that piece is going there, and it's going to have the end bit of this stuck on the other end. It'll be metal fish plates. It won't have power feed on the end. It'll have feeds on here, which are going to have to be the other way round. Normally I've got brown is the inner feed, blue is the outer. This is going to have to be swapped because when the turntable points that way, it's reversed itself. Not really a problem. But that's the job for after lunch. After I've painted all of the... I don't have to paint the ply. I probably will. Don't have to. It'll just look a bit better if I do. So I'm probably going to get all of this painted up. There is another little bit of cork there. So this track does raise slightly as it approaches the turntable. So that'll roll a bit more easily one way than it will the other. Not really a problem. The rails are close. There's a bit of a gap. There has to be a bit of a gap, otherwise it catches. They've been filed and whatever. I mean, it won't be quite that. It'll be a bit more that eventually. But yeah, trains will cope. It's in a straight line, and it does have to be aligned very straight with the table. I may put some stub tracks. I did have an idea as well. A suggestion that somebody came with is for what to put here, which was the front of a roundhouse. So just model like the front wall and whatever bit of the roof I need, and just have 2 or 3 tracks coming off. You make one the stub track for that. Take this one here, make that a stub track for that, and just put a dummy one over there, possibly with a little dummy track here, and then have a little dummy track down here for that, just as a way of filling that in. I may well consider that. This is going to be sitting here for a little while, basically so I can get at it easily. Eventually it will be mounted on the underneath of this board, probably under here somewhere. There's the space sort of in this area here to mount a circuit board. Obviously then you can now see the space I've got for the signal box. Coal stage goes there. There's bags of room. I can put the coaling stage back here somewhere. Water tower. Put it there. Put it over there. Put it in that corner. I mean, in theory, I could put it here. I'm not going to put it here because it obscures view of what I'm doing. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the first track cut to length. It's got its power feed. I'm going to break for lunch. When I come back down, I'm going to make this one as well. Get all this cut to the right length. Get its power feed in, which is going to be in the same place. I'm umming and ahhing. Do I make this a separate block? I've got feed 4 there, feed 5. This would be feed 6. That'll be feed 7. The sidings that are going to be over there won't have block detection, so that's fine. I mean, these don't really need it, to be honest with you. I don't need the TMD doesn't really need block detection. As I said, this bit will, because it's a useful warning going that way. This way is probably going to be limited to infrared sensors. I'm sort of thinking one about here. So train comes in there, stops, rumble up here, another one about here. Train comes in here and about stops. I think about if I'm going to do that, I'll have to put the controller circuit somewhere else. Because obviously I'll have a hole through here in a circuit, but I'll have a think. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm off to get some lunch. Let this glue finish drying. I'm going to come down with a paintbrush. While that's drying, I've got some painting I need to do. I'm going to prime the water tower, the coaling stage, and I've got a dinosaur and some ghosts for a tabletop game that need doing. Yeah, anyway. Right, so I'll catch you again in a bit when I'm back down here with a paintbrush on this bit. Enjoy. Right, back. Lunch, fed. Yes, cheese sandwich. Next job. Glue's now had a chance to dry on this and the other bit over there. Painting. So what we're going to do is this stuff. Quick mix. I've used nearly this whole pot. Just on this layout, not used it for anything else. Just purely on the layout. So what I'm going to do is start with this bit over here. Basically because I've got to reach over this area to get to it, and otherwise I'm going to end up with paint all over me. So this is just paint all of this. It's a purely cosmetic thing, fairly obviously. I find though if I paint this first, when you lay track over, between the sleepers you see grey, which is quite nice, because when you put some ballast on it, you see grey between the rails, where the ballast is missing, which is actually quite useful. So yeah. So this little siding over here, this is obviously just a loco stabling stub off the turntable. Yeah, his purpose fairly obviously is stabling a loco. It's just a bit of storage space, really. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy for that. The head cannon, such as it is for this section of the layout, this is not a main depot. This is just a little servicing point for locomotives overnight. So over here, this could be a Pacific. Just it's been fueled, it's been watered, it's been brought up here, and they need somewhere for it to stand, along with one or two others, ready for a service in the morning. Or it's the final run of the day. It needs somewhere at the end. So basically it's just storage siding. It's, in practical terms, it is, I have another locomotive which isn't in a box, it's on show somewhere. They are quite expensive, so I do quite like the idea of being able to see them. So yeah, this is where a locomotive will sit. A little bit of paint there on that back seam, doesn't really matter too much. The grey around here is really just about concealing the plywood. Just makes it look a little bit better, really. That's all this is about. If it gets onto the outside of the turntable well, I'm not too concerned, because all that's going to get ballasted and whatever later. Just do this. Slight advantage here, actually. I can use the camera to see whether I've missed a bit, which obviously I have. A few bits around here, which, yeah. Like I say, this is all cosmetic. I mean, obviously it's just paint, so yeah. It does seal the board as well, which actually has an advantage when it comes to putting scenic bits and pieces on here. It doesn't soak in quite so much. So if you're using other acrylic paints and things over the top of this, they can stick a little bit better. So yeah. There we go. I've just been watching Ian, Trains of Thought's latest video that he's put out into his member side on ballasting. Incidentally, on membership stuff, the channel here doesn't have them. The channel here isn't going to get them. I'm not saying I object to other people doing it. I mean, I'm a member on a couple of channels, actually, but I don't think this one's worthwhile doing it, to be honest with you. So I have no intention of doing that. So there's not going to be any of that sort of please join, please subscribe, yada yada stuff. Normal subscriptions, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, turn that around over here, and we'll start doing that leg of that thing to sit there. And we'll start doing this bit. So move the tin of paint. Like I said, I'm going to let this dry. It's household emulsion. It'll take an hour or two to dry. I'm going to be doing some stuff which is not railway related specifically during that time. Because this being a weekend, ideally this is actually a weekday job. Should really have done this during the week. Found the time to do it. The thinking there is, doesn't take very long to do this painting. And if it sits and has to wait overnight to dry, well, it doesn't really matter, does it, at that point? Because it's not like I'm doing anything else. So, yeah. But instead, due to poor planning and poor preparation, doing this has fallen at a weekend. So, yeah, is what it is. Oh, well, never mind. We'll get it done. Yeah. I mean, this end, just having the turntable in instead of the hole, it's quite a nice visual improvement on its own. We'll get the rest going. Like I say, the turntable does actually spin. It is noisy, so it's not going to get a lot of use at the moment. But I am going to, before this video finishes, I will demonstrate it moving and let you listen to the screaming it makes, which is quite annoying. But there we go. And as I say, the replacement, which is I think it's TMC 2209. I think is coming. Ordered yesterday, so they should be here by next weekend. AliExpress, of course, because I did look on eBay. I could have got one for a tenner that would turn up, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, look at that, and then, well, for a tenner, I can get one from China. And let's face it, they all come from China anyway. For a tenner, I could get one from China and get a load of 3mm pre-wired LEDs at the same time. So I did that. Yeah, it's simple as that, really. Unlike the last time where I ordered a box of 5 of them because it was cheaper than ordering one. The wonders of our modern society, that really is a bit... Yeah. We try to encourage not being wasteful, but then things are priced so it's cheaper to buy far more than you need and not use some of them than to buy however many you need and just however many you need. But never mind, there we go. So that'll be coming, and then hopefully we'll get this thing set up. It won't scream for mercy, it'll be powered up, and away we go. I've been thinking again on a little display. I was going to have a display here, I'm sort of about there, with those big 7-segment LED displays. I might still do that. But I've also been thinking, back with the Mimic panel stuff, well, if I have this thing say what its position is, and it's only going to have 7 positions, it's going to have a 0 position, turn it off there, which is about there. That's where the sensor is. So it's never really ever going to be in that position operationally. I mean, it might sit in that position not long after it powers up, but it's not going to do much more. Then it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically, one end or the other connecting to one of these outlets. Well, there's a simple solution to that. And instead of having a display that says it is in position 1, and then having to walk over here to think to myself, which one's position 1 again? What I can do, which is what I'm actually going to do, is have like a clock face. Look like the table from above. LED, 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 and then at the opposite end. So if the table's in this position, I'll have one here and one there lit. Not on the table, it'll be on a panel somewhere over here, up above, whatever, doesn't matter. Red one in the middle, so when it's like that or when it's moving, red one's on. Functions nicely as a little bit of a signal. Which track can use this? I did think I could put it so each one of these positions had a red and a green. So this one's red, that one's red, this one's green. Don't need it. I'll just have a green or it not lit. Anyway, that's that painted. I'll be back with the next bit once that's dried, which is probably going to take it a couple of hours, and then I can start sticking the tracks down. They're probably not going to be powered. Well, they're not going to be powered up today because today's Sunday. Because I'm going to have to wait for all the paint in the turntable. Well, never mind. I'm going to have to wait for the thing to power up. To dry properly and all the glue's dried. Incidentally, table has had a bit more painting done. As you can see, I've marked out the bases. This is just Games Workshop washers. This is a brown. It's had a wash over it. The brickwork has had a wash over. It's, if I can find one of the joins like there between the paint, it's a bit of that. It'll get a bit more. It's going to get some moss added. It's going to get a bit of other dirt and stuff in. That's it for now. And if I come around here, the sides of the table have just had some washes applied. The green needs a bit of highlighting, but not much. And there we go. I've got one of these wheels. I think it's, I don't know which one it is. That one does not like turning. It will turn, but it doesn't like turning. So I'm going to have to do this a bit, which will free it up. That's basically the one that squeaks, is that drags and then it squeaks. See, it doesn't squeak anything like as much like this. And there's a bit of oil on the bearing in the middle. Anyway, I'll be back in a bit. Right, well, I'm waiting for paint to dry and cables to get out from under my feet. I've powered it up. As you can see, the other tracks are here. I've got that track. Obviously, it's not fitted yet because it's waiting for some paint to dry. I'll move that one back out of the way. None of this is fixed down yet, so this is going to be a little bit done. The job, turn that wagon around. So I have 2 buttons here. If I zoom you in a bit, you'll be able to see what's going on slightly. Can't zoom you in on this camera. Incidentally, this is the noise it makes. It's not too bad when it's moving. And sometimes when it stops. I've only got 1 rotation speed at the moment, and this is it. So, yeah. Also, there is a slight issue with control. I'm using, any of you played with this sort of stuff, I'm using the button.h library to control the buttons. It's a lovely little library, gives you an event when you press a button, when you release a button. You can see, is the button being held down, yada yada. It also debounces the buttons, so you don't get spurious activations. The problem is that debounce code means there's a minimum time. So if I press that and immediately release it, it doesn't stop instantly. and we get more noises. It moves a fairly predictable amount though, so it's lined up again. So anyway, wagon on turntable. Like I say, it's not particularly quick. I can adjust the speed. This is just some very, very simple code. Until the new driver turns up, I am not playing with the software on this anymore. So, yeah. I just thought I'd give it a quick test. So this wagon is going to be the first thing on here to be turned. This is Sunday. It is unlikely I will be powering this track up Sunday. I'm hopeful by the time this video is out, obviously I will have also had Monday, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to wire this up Monday. Basically, I'm going to glue all the track down still. I want all the glue to have plenty of time to fully cure before I flip this thing onto its side so I can wire it all up. Here we go. I don't know how realistic this speed is. I suspect it's probably a little bit slow, but there we go. So a little bit more. And now it's going a little bit too far, so I'm going to have to... This is the current problem. Well, and that whining sound. Yes, anyway, let's go back a bit and come in again. There we go. Task completed. Wagon has turned around. Yeah. So, I've got to finish waiting for the paint to dry. There's still a few little bits over there. That one needs holes drilling for the wires. These actually don't. This track has got a wire. Hang on, I'll clip my microphone back on. Yes, that might help. And if I then lift this off and swap the cameras. Yeah, so here we are, cameras swapped. This feed is feed 6. It's, as I said earlier, it's on this track, so I've got to split from the end. This one is all going to be a single feed, which is feed 5. So these rail joiners here are going to get soldered. The alternative was putting more feeds in over here, and to be honest, I'll solder them, it's easier. That one's wired up. As I said, the track wires are the other way round. I'm just waiting for this bit of paint around this end here to finish drying, and then I can work out where that goes and sort it. There are some little plastic bits that Peco provide that go onto this outer ring and hold the rails. They're currently upstairs. This actually is quite robust at the minute. Here's a little panel, so I literally makes it turn one way. That makes it turn the other. The wires that dangle down, these buttons light up. I don't have code to make them light up as yet. I sort of thought, well, I could make that light up when I press it. To be honest, the table is turning, so I know I've pressed it, and my finger is on it, so I know I've pressed it. And it's making noise again, so I'm going to try. There we are. Yeah, now the thing is, when that's making noise, the motor is heating. So what I'm actually going to do is do that and unplug it. And that actually jolted as I unplugged it. But there we go. I'm also just going to pull this USB cable out of here and power the whole thing down. And that can go just out the way for a minute. So yeah, it doesn't do anything there. I say I'm not going to, well, if I can power this up tomorrow, which is a sort of a goal I'd quite like to do. I'm just going to move a camera stand. I will do, and I'll use it with this driver just to prove it works. You know, drive a train on, turn it around, drive a train off, park over there, and yada yada. Otherwise, it's going to stay unplugged until I'm ready. So what else have we done? I said I was going to do a little bit of painting, so we'll have a little look at that. Yeah, they've got some paint on them. No, I'm not really bothered about the non-railway bits at the minute. Red oxide primer on the brickwork on the coal stage. There's the water tower. That's just primer. That's not fitted yet. I forgot to prime around the very top edges. I'll probably just leave that and do it with a brush. The inside's grey. The window's got a coat of grey. They've had a little bit of overspray. I'm not that bothered. There's a dinosaur. Platforms. Now, there's some more down there. I've started painting the sides of them. Sort of like peering through there. It's not a brick pattern. It's just going to be red. The top is going to be grey, and I'll do the coping stones on the side in a slightly different colour, and I'll probably dry brush the top bits. Yeah, that's about that. I got a while ago, I got a load of these. They're rubbish. I mean, they're really cheap and nasty. But I'm actually thinking I could put some platform lights on. Yeah, so it'd be about that sort of height, because I'll need to leave a bit of space at the bottom. So I'll put one of those on each section. I've got about 40 odd of them, so I might as well use them. Yeah, but waiting for that to dry, and then I'm going to fit those tracks. So yeah, back in a bit. Yeah, now editing me here. I'm going to cut the video at this point. Otherwise, it's going to be rather long, and I'm trying to keep these down to slightly more sensible lengths now. What you're seeing is what the turntable looks like after the tracks go in, which is going to be the opening of the next one. Yeah, so far so good. Obviously, you've heard the issue I have with the turntable motor. So anyway, that's it for this one. I'll be back in the next one with basically a follow-on part to this. So yeah, catch you then. Bye.